Hello students, a very good evening to all and welcome back to Daily Newspaper Analysis. Today is 19th of May and today we shall be discussing 5 very important articles from The Hindu. So first important article is related to privilege motion. So recently Jairam Ramesh, who is the member of Congress, he has introduced privilege motion against the Union Education Minister of India. So here we shall be discussing what are the reasons for the introduction of this motion. And second important thing is that what is the significance of that and some of the prelims related points. Second article is related to a new body which is created by Iran to manage all the affairs, all the development which is happening around Strait of Hormuz. So here we shall be discussing what will be the significance of this issue. Next important article is about PM's Nordic visit. So here recently Prime Minister of India has visited Norway and he will be doing visit to he will be there will be a meeting between the India and Nordic countries. So here it will be very important that what all agreements will be done here and how it will be significant amid the West Asia crisis. Next article is a very important. So this article shows that how technology can be used for the conservation of any endangered species. So here we shall be discussing how DNA maps can be used to protect pangolins from trafficking. And finally, we will be discussing a very important editorial. So basically, this editorial discusses that at present India do not have adequate amount of strategic petroleum reserves, and what will be the way forward for India. Okay, so let's start with our first article. So first article says Jairam Ramesh moves privilege motion against the Union Education Minister. So let's discuss why this happened. So recently, Congress leader Jairam Ramesh has moved a privilege motion in Rajya Sabha. So he has moved privilege motion, and in which house he has moved? He has moved privilege motion in Rajya Sabha. Now privilege motion is moved against which minister? So it was moved against Union Education Minister, that is Dharmendra Pradhan. So it was moved under Union Education Minister. Now, why this thing is very significant and why privilege motion was introduced? Because, see, as you know, after recent NEET UG paper leak controversy, many questions are asked from the government. So recently, a question was asked from the government of India that already few parliamentary standing committees have given some of the recommendations that what all reforms can be introduced to reform this entire system of NEET UG paper, but still why all those recommendations were not implemented. So this was the question which was asked by the government, and no, but directly this was the question which was asked to the Union Education Minister. But the point here is the education minister reportedly said that all these recommendations which were given by the parliamentary committees, we are not focusing much on all those recommendations. So all controversy started from here, because Jairam Ramesh has argued that these marks will lower the dignity of parliament as well as the parliamentary committees. Why? Because see, as we have already discussed yesterday about the parliamentary committees, that these parliamentary committees function as the mini parliament. Why I am saying mini parliament? Because these committees will be having members of government, these committees will be having members of opposition parties, as well as these committees will be having some experts. And what is the role of this committee? Their main role is to hold the government accountable, to hold the executive accountable. So if you are not focusing on the recommendations which are given by these committees, then what is the purpose of making these committees? That means, because the main role of these committees was to scrutinize each and every action of the government, to hold the government accountable. But if you are saying that no, we are not focusing much on these committees, or no, since these committees constitute of opposition members, so we are not giving much focus to all these things, then what is the purpose of making all these committees? And important thing is that if government is not focusing on all these recommendations, then this will weaken the parliamentary democracy itself. That means, as you already know, that the overall the importance of parliamentary committees or standing committees is declining over a period of time, because the number of bills which were earlier referred to the parliamentary committees are now also being reduced. So the overall scrutiny of the government activity has been reduced, and this was the reason why a privilege motion was moved against the Union Education Minister. Now, this privilege motion was introduced under the rules 187 of Rajya Sabha. So, if this motion was introduced in Lok Sabha, then rule will be different. If this motion is, since this motion is introduced in Rajya Sabha, so the number of rule will be different. You don't need to remember the number, but no, please remember that under different rules in Lok Sabha also and in Rajya Sabha also, privilege motion will be introduced. Now, since we are discussing about the privilege motion, so let's discuss some of the prelims related points. So if we talk about the privilege motion, so what is the purpose? Means when this privilege motion can be introduced, this can be introduced when a member or MP, when a member or minister thinks that there has been breach of parliamentary privileges. So whenever any member of the parliament thinks that parliamentary privilege has been breached, then privilege motion can be introduced. Now, whenever you want to introduce the privilege motion, this can be introduced only with the consent of the presiding officer. So, if it is being introduced in Lok Sabha, then Speaker, and if introduced in Rajya Sabha, then it will be the Chairman of Rajya Sabha. So, here, the speaker or chairman will be the first level of scrutiny for the privilege motion. Because see, if any member has introduced the privilege motion, it does not prove that no privilege has been breached. But you want to scrutinize. So either the presiding officers will scrutinize, or the presiding officers can give this matter to the parliamentary standing committee, and their complete analysis can be done. So here, important thing is that this can be introduced with the consent of presiding officers, and presiding officers have the complete authority to analyze the issue, or the officer can give this issue for the analysis to the parliamentary standing committee. Okay, and so now we have discussed all these things. And yes, since we were discussing about the rule 187, because the motion was introduced in Rajya Sabha, and if the motion was introduced in Lok Sabha, then it will be rule 222. Now, since we were discussing that privilege motion can be introduced if there is breach of parliamentary privilege, that's why it's very important to discuss about the parliamentary privileges also. So here, what are see, if I talk about the word privilege only, then what is the meaning of privilege? Privilege means any right or immunity which a person has. So if we talk about parliamentary privileges, that means these are the special rights or immunities which are enjoyed by the both houses of the parliament. And along with that, this right is also enjoyed by the Attorney General of India. So please remember this. Another important thing is, if I ask that what all is composed of parliament, that means what are the constituents of parliament, then what you will say? Lok Sabha, along with that Rajya Sabha, and along with that President of India. So these are the three components of parliament. But if we talk about the parliamentary privileges, so members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha have these privileges. But President does not have parliamentary privileges in India. Reason for that is President already has many privileges under Article 361 of the Constitution. So it's not like President does not have any privilege. But important thing is that he does not have parliamentary privileges. He has complete privileges which are mentioned under Article 361 of the Constitution. Next important thing is, if you have any idea that whether India has any law which is codifying all the immunities or all the privileges of MPs, whether they are individual privileges or collective privileges, to tell me in the comment section that whether India have any particular law which is codifying all the privileges of the parliament. And if we talk about any article in the Constitution, so Article 105 of the Constitution expressly mentions two privileges. What are those two privileges? First is freedom of speech in the parliament, and second is right of publication of its proceedings. So please remember that even in constitution, all these privileges are not codified. Only Article 105 talks about two rights and privileges of MPs. Okay, so I think we discussed each and everything, like why privilege motion was introduced, what is privilege motion, and about the parliamentary privileges. Okay. Now, next important article about a new body which is created by Iran. Okay, so our news is that Iran has officially announced new body to manage the Strait of Hormuz. So what is the name of this new body? So this new body is called Persian Gulf Strait Authority. And what is the purpose of this authority? Its main role is to manage the navigation and operations in the strategically important area, that is the Strait of Hormuz. Now, why this thing is very important? Because this authority, that is Persian Gulf Strait Authority, this will provide the real-time updates. This authority will provide real-time updates. Real-time updates of what? Of all the happenings, of all the developments which is taking place near the Persian Gulf, near the Strait of Hormuz, etc. See, this development has come amid the West Asian crisis, amid the global instability. If we talk about the importance of Strait of Hormuz, so we have discussed the significance many times. Let's discuss once again. So if we talk about Strait of Hormuz, so as you already know, that Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most critical maritime choke points. Why it is critical maritime choke point? Because nearly 1/5 or 20% of global oil or LNG trade passes through this route. That's why this is of great significance. And if there is any disruption, then what will happen? See, if the oil trade or LNG trade gets disrupted, first thing what will happen? First thing, global oil prices will rise, right? Global oil prices will rise. Why? Because because Iran will not allow the tankers to pass. That means the quantity will decrease. If quantity is decreased and demand is very high, that means global oil prices will rise. If global oil prices will rise, what will be the impact? The shipping cost will rise, right? Shipping cost will also rise. If shipping cost will rise, overall inflation will rise. So this will be the third impact. Overall inflation will also rise because of shipping cost rise, and if no ships are carrying all the imported products, then overall inflation will also rise, and overall there will be impact on the energy security of any country. So this is the complete significance of all the things which are happening around Strait of Hormuz. Now, this development has raised the international concern. Why? Because Iran's new mechanism could aggravate or increase the geopolitical tensions, because already the tensions are not less, and this new development by Iran, where a particular authority will be giving the real time updates of what all is happening, so this will aggravate or escalate the geopolitical tensions which are existing at present. And there will be a challenge of freedom of navigation also. Freedom of navigation. And we have already discussed this freedom of navigation is important for all countries, and especially for the developing countries like India, which depend more and more on the imports. And this freedom of navigation is given under the international law. So basically, this will be violation of the freedom of navigation also. Now, if we talk about India, so this is of great significance of India, because as I've already discussed, India majorly depend on the import of oil also, natural gas also, and all these things. And this will have a huge impact on India. Okay, so I think we discussed completely about this new body. Now, since we are discussing about Strait of Hormuz, so let's quickly revise the map also, because mapping I think we have revised many a times, but since prelims is coming, so let's revise once again. So here we are talking about the Strait of Hormuz. So let's quickly see. So here we have Persian Gulf, here we have Gulf of Oman, And if we talk about the bordering countries, so Iran is present at the northern side of Strait of Hormuz. So basically, Iran is controlling Strait of Hormuz, and here we have Iraq, here we have Kuwait, here we have Saudi Arabia. So this is the region of Saudi Arabia. Here we have island country that is Bahrain. Here we have Qatar. Here we have UAE, and here we have Oman. So whenever you read about any geographical area, so please read about the adjacent geographical regions. Please read about the bordering countries. In this way, you read about any mapping. So I think we read about the Strait of Hormuz also, and this news also done. Okay, now let me change the color. Yes, so our next topic is it visible? Huh. Okay, so our next topic is trade energy discussions on global conflicts to top agenda for Modi's Nordic visit. So here the Prime Minister of India has visited Norway, and India Nordic Summit will also be taking place. So that's why we shall be discussing what can be the possible agreements or deals which would happen. Now, first of all, tell me that why would India suddenly become very interested in these small Nordic countries, which are very far away in the Europe? So here the reason is because today geopolitics is not only about the military power. So here why what we are discussing, that suddenly why India got interested in the Nordic countries, because as you know at present what is our priority? Our priority is the to conserve or to protect the global supply chain, or to protect our strategic oil reserves, or to diversify our energy resources. So amid all these things, amid the geopolitical crisis, why India became suddenly interested in the Nordic countries? So here, as we are discussing now, that at present the real power is not the military power, right? But the real power lies in the technology. Real power lies in the how you are able to diversify your energy resources. Real power lies in how much you can innovate in a particular field. The real power lies in how strong you have economic and trade partnerships with other countries. So this is the real power in the present world, and that's exactly the reason that why India is trying to strengthen its ties with the Nordic countries. I will explain. So I think till now you might have got an idea that since at present West Asia crisis is going on and there is energy crisis, fuel crisis in India, so there might be something related to energy diversification or power diversification. So that's why India is trying to strengthen its ties with Nordic countries. Now, first of all, before discussing about Nordic countries, let's know that what all countries are part of Nordic countries. So let's see. So here we have no 5 countries are considered as Nordic countries. So what are those countries? Those countries will be Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, as well as Greenland. So please see the map carefully. Whenever we talk about Nordic countries, so Nordic countries are mainly 5 countries, and those are Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, as well as just a second. Okay, it's not Greenland. Uh, yes. Okay, so it's Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, as well as Denmark. These are the 5 Nordic countries. So now India is trying to strengthen its partnership with Nordic countries. Now, significance of these Nordic countries is that though these Nordic countries are very small in the population, so their population is not very much. These Nordic countries do not have much population, but these countries are very advanced in the terms of technology, or in the terms of green energy, or in the terms of innovation or water management systems. So basically, these countries have very low population, but these countries are considered very advanced in terms of technology, energy generation, etc. So that's why the Prime Minister is now visiting these countries, so that India can diversify its energy resources amid the West Asia crisis. Okay. Okay, now let's discuss another things. So here, India and Norway are also expected to deepen cooperation in the LNG supplies. So as I've already discussed that what is the main purpose of India to visit Nordic countries, main purpose is to diversify its energy resources so that India can reduce its dependence on the countries in West Asia for the oil or for the natural gas. Because if we talk about natural gas, entire fertilizer sector is dependent on the natural gas only. That's why India wants to diversify its resources and India wants to reduce its dependence on the West Asian countries. So here India and Norway are also expected to deepen the cooperation in the LNG supplies. And next thing is LNG supplies clean energy blue economy and investments under India EFTA Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. So here you must know about India EFTA first. So EFTA, what we call EFTA means European Free Trade Association. So here basically it was agreed in 2025. It was agreed in 2025 that EFTA and India, that is European Free Trade Association, and India will be having a free trade agreement. And that free trade agreement we are calling as Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement. So first of all, let's discuss briefly about EFTA, because this can be asked in prelims, because EFTA is not equal to Nordic countries. So you cannot say that all the countries in the Nordic world is equal to all the countries in the European Free Trade Association. So who all countries are included here? Here we have four countries: Iceland. Just a second. Have I missed anything? No. Okay, okay, okay. So here, so first of all, let's revise about the Nordic countries. So in Nordic countries, we had Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, and Denmark. Now, if we talk about the European Free Trade Association, that is EFTA countries. So what all countries are here? We have Iceland, we have Liechtenstein, we have Norway, and we have Switzerland. So four countries are there: Norway, Iceland, Liechtenstein, as well as Switzerland. So please remember these four countries. So basically, what is EFTA? It is an intergovernmental trade bloc which is composed of these four countries. This was established in 1960. Its main purpose is to promote the free trade and economic integration both within Europe as well as globally. So now India has agreed to sign a free trade agreement with the EFTA. So that free trade agreement we are calling as Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, that is TIPA. Now, yes, now briefly let's discuss about the trade and economic partnership between India and EFTA. So basically, the main purpose of this TIPA is enhancing market access and simplifying custom procedures to improve trade facilitation. So basically, as you know, that trade can be done with goods also, trade can be done with the services also. And there are various sectors under which imports and exports can be done. So sectors, if we call sectors, for example, agricultural sector, or for example, engineering sector, if these are the part of goods. If we talk about the services, so services are also included no in the trade agreement. So basically the main purpose of this TIPA is to enhance the market access and simplify customs so that trade facilitation can be increased. Now, important thing about this TIPA is that there is a binding commitment by EFTA nations. And what is that binding commitment? That they will invest around $100 billion over 15 years. And in what they will invest? They will invest, the main purpose will be to generate 1 million direct jobs in India. So they basically they will be investing in various kind of projects, for example, blue economy, or for example, green energy, and it is aimed that it will generate around 1 million direct jobs in India. So this was basic about free trade agreement, that is trade and economic partnership agreement between India and EFTA. Now, okay, so here next article is related to DNA maps, how is saying that how DNA maps can help in reducing the pangolin trafficking. So here we shall be discussing what all technologies are used to reduce the trafficking, and then we will discuss some of the prelims related facts related to pangolin. And here I have one PYQ also, because already I think in 2023 PYQ is asked related to pangolin. So we shall be discussing that also. Okay. So first of all, let's discuss about the news. So news is scientists are increasingly using advanced DNA mapping and genome tracing techniques to identify global pangolin trafficking hotspots and illegal wildlife trade routes. So see, basically what scientists are doing, scientists are trying to create DNA maps. So how they will create DNA maps? For DNA maps, they will be needing samples. So basically what scientists are doing, scientists are taking DNA samples of pangolins. So this DNA samples can be taken from various regions. For example, they can be taken from forest, or they can be taken from zoo, they can be taken from museums. So from various areas, scientists are collecting DNA samples of pangolins. And using these DNA samples, scientists are making DNA maps. Okay, now after scientists have made DNA maps, what they will do, they will match these DNA maps with the different wildlife regions or different forest regions. So what they will do, that what all DNA scientists are having, so using that DNA they will create a map, and they will compare this DNA which is present in the map with different regions which are possible habitats of pangolins. So for example, if I talk about, no if for example if I talk about the forest in India, maybe if I talk about the northeast India. So for example, scientists are having a DNA map, and from that DNA map, one DNA matches with the DNA which is present in the forest in northeast India. So in that way, scientists will be able to identify that what was the original location of that pangolin, and because of trafficking, where the traffickers took that pangolin. So what is the main purpose of this DNA map? This main purpose is to find the original forest habitat of those pangolins, and to reduce this trafficking network overall of pangolin in the world. So this was the concept of the DNA maps. So using these DNA maps, scientists will use the genomic tracing techniques, and they will find out the original forest habitats of the pangolin. So after using all these DNA mappings, what was the identification? Scientists have identified some of the hotspots. What are those hotspots? Southwest Cameroon, Myanmar, Indonesia, and several regions across Africa. These are the major trafficking hotspots of pangolins all over the world. Now, first let's discuss about the reasons that why pangolins are being trafficked. First important reason is that pangolin scales are used in the traditional medicines, and by using trafficking you can easily get the part which is used in the medicines in a very cheap amount. So that's why these pangolins are trafficked. Second is meat of pangolin is consumed in illegal wildlife market. So second reason is meat, because it is consumed also. And third thing is this skin of pangolin is used in the luxury products. So these are the main reasons because of which pangolin is being trafficked. Now, next thing which is used by the scientists is the gene capture technique. Because see, if you want to trace the original habitat of any pangolin, you will be needing a DNA map for that, right? And to make DNA map, you will be needing gene samples, right? Now it is not very easy to collect gene samples, because no, at some there are some instances where that sample is not good enough so that you can take a good DNA sample from that. That means that sample is very old, or it is very deteriorated. So now scientists are using gene capture method. So in gene capture method, what will happen, that DNA can be recovered even from the old or damaged samples. Now, if you are able to get easily the DNA sample, then making DNA map will be very easy. So that's why here scientists are using gene capture method. So using gene capture method, even from old or damaged DNA samples, you can extract the DNA. Now, having discussed about the news, let's quickly discuss about the pangolins. So see, this is the picture of pangolins. This is how they look, and these are the scales. These are the scales on the scale body of pangolins, and these scales are used to make various kind of products. That's why it is one of the most most trafficked animal in the world. Now let's discuss about the pangolins. So first important thing for you is that pangolins are nocturnal mammals. Nocturnal means they are very active during night time, and second, they are mammals. So please remember, pangolins are nocturnal mammals, and how they live, they dig burrows and feed on ants as well as termites. So first important thing, that pangolins are nocturnal. Second, they are mammal. How they live? They live by digging the burrows in the ground, and they feed on ants as well as termites. Now, these pangolins play a very important role in the ecosystem. Why? Because whenever they are digging the burrows in the ground, no, so because of that, they are increasing the aeration of soil, or that means they are making the soil porous. If soil is porous, then it can easily absorb the air or water. So that's why they play an important role in the ecosystem management also. Next thing is, pangolins are known for their unique appearance. Unique appearance, we have already seen that there are scales all over the body of the pangolins. That's why unique appearance. So here, important thing is, these scales are made of keratin that cover the entire body. And this keratin is very important component in some of the traditional medicines. That's why this is one of the reason why it is trafficked. Now, when they are threatened, they can roll into a ball to protect themselves. See, why I am discussing these small things, because in 2023 question was asked on this concept only. See, I will show the PYQ. This was the PYQ of 2021. So what was asked in 2021? Actually, pangolin will be in news no every 1 year or 2 years. Earlier also pangolin was in news. This year also it in news. So because of some or the other reason, pangolin will be news every time. So that's why these kind of species you must have a basic information. So see, this was the question. Question was, consider the following animals. First was hedgehog, second was marmot, and third was pangolin. Question was, to reduce the chance of being captured by predators, which of the above organism roles protects their vulnerable parts? See, important thing is, UPSC is not expecting you to know all the three options, because three options are not given in any of the option. 1 to 3 is not an option. So even if you have idea about one of the species, you can take the risk, because as you already know that no person can say that 100% I can solve 85 or 90 questions in UPSC. But out of 100 questions, people can easily solve 40 to 50 questions, of which they are 100% sure. The other 30 or 35 questions they do, which are of 50% chances. So even for this question, if you had idea of just one species, you can take the risk. So here, one of the option was pangolin also. So maybe you don't know any idea, you don't have any idea about marmot or hedgehog, but this pangolin is always in news. So at least you must have basic idea of all the characteristics of pangolin. So see, just now we discussed, right, that here what pangolins do, pangolins roll into a ball to protect themselves. So that's why these type of characteristics are very important. Okay, now if we talk about the habitat, so whenever you read about any species, habitat is very important, IUCN status is very important, basic characteristics are very important. So if we talk about habitat, so mainly there is no particular habitat that no in this kind of habitat only they will live. So they have wide range of habitats. Why wide range? Because they mainly live in the tropical forest, and they also live in the bamboo forest, grasslands, agricultural fields. So no, you cannot say a particular habitat that they just live in the grasslands or they just live in the agricultural fields. So there is wide range of habitat for these pangolins. Now, in India, if we talk about the pangolins, so basically in India, these pangolins are in the Bihar, West Bengal, and Assam. And in India, we have Indian pangolin also, and we have other species, that is Chinese pangolin also. So see, if we are talking about two varieties of pangolins, then you must have an idea about the IUCN status of these pangolins also. So if we talk about the protection status, so protection status, if we talk about the Indian pangolin, so Indian pangolin belongs to the endangered category. And second is the Chinese pangolin, so it belongs to critically endangered category. So see, this is how you read about any species. So whenever any particular species is in news, so first of all, you must know the basic characteristics of that particular species. Next, you must know the habitat of that species. And third, you must know the IUCN status. At least you must have a basic idea of these headings. Now, next article I took from the editorial. So actually this article is also very, very important. So please listen carefully. So basically, this article discusses about the unlearned lesson by India. So it says India's inadequate strategic petroleum and gas reserves. So basically, the gist of the article is that it's not like that energy crisis is a very new thing for the world. Earlier also energy crisis happened, and after those crises, many countries learned from those crises and they started their management. But still, even after these many crises, India has not learned many things. So this is the gist. Now we will discuss the evidences that how we can say that still India has not learned many things. Okay, so let's start discussion. So see, the article says that India's strategic petroleum and gas reserves are very inadequate. So basically, article is saying that India's petroleum and gas reserves are very inadequate, and they are inadequate despite the repeated global energy shocks. That means India has not learned many things from the past crisis. This is what article is saying, that despite many past crises, India had still not taken any lesson. See, although we know this, that India has expanded its strategic petroleum reserves, right? So we are not saying that India has not done anything. So we know, because repeatedly we also see in the news that India is expanding its strategic petroleum reserves over the years, over a period of time. But the important thing is that the dedicated reserve currently is only for around 7 to 8 days of crude oil cover. Can you imagine? At present, India have just reserves of 7 to 8 days of crude oil. But I have discussed in the previous classes also that according to International Energy Agency recommendation, every country must have the reserves of at least 90 days so that they can manage the global oil shocks. So can you imagine what is the difference? International Energy Agency talks about 90 days, and what India has the reserves of around 7 to 10 days. Now, this is very important given that India imports around 85% of its crude oil. India imports around 50% of its natural gas. And there is this percentage of crude oil as well as natural gas has a very high share which we are importing from West Asia. That's why India is more and more vulnerable. And that's why Prime Minister of India has visited the Nordic countries, because for the energy diversification. Though that step is very good, article is saying, but till now India could have learned many lessons which it has not learned till now. Now, next thing is that the ongoing West Asia crisis and the tensions which are happening in the Strait of Hormuz, these all things have exposed the India's vulnerability. India's vulnerability to what? Vulnerability to the rising oil prices or to the supply chain instability. See, the experts say that India still lacks the deep strategic buffers. So still, though we know that India is building the strategic petroleum reserves, but still we have a very low buffer of crude oil also. We have very low buffer of fertilizers also, because since we have very low buffer of crude oil, fertilizers, all these things. So because of fertilizer, our agriculture will suffer. Because of crude oil, overall economy will suffer. So basically The article is discussing that still, even at this point of time, even after many shocks, still India does not have the adequate amount of buffer for crude oil, for natural gas, for fertilizer, etc. See, now the article says that India, India has the habit to react to any situation rather than being prepared for that situation. So this is the main issue here, that India every time try to react to the crisis rather than building a long term plan. So this is the main issue here, that what is the requirement? Our requirement is to create a long term plan. But what is the habit of India? India has the habit to react to the crisis. So this is not a good thing. Now if we give the example of countries who have managed these crises because of this no very good management, so here example will come of USA or China. What these countries did after these energy crises, these countries built the massive petroleum reserves. After the shocks, for example, 1973 global oil shock, that was a massive oil shock. So after learning from these crises, countries like USA or countries like China have created a massive petroleum reserves. But India's building remained relatively slow, or what we can say remained relatively limited. So that's why India is facing all these issues. That's why India is facing more vulnerable during the West Asia crisis. Now, if we talk about the solutions, so what will be the solutions? So first of all, important solution is that India must expand its strategic reserves, because as we already discussed, we have reserves just for 7 to 10 days. So we must try to reach that benchmark of 90 days, which is recommended by International Energy Agency. Second thing is India must learn to diversify its imports. So that's why Prime Minister of India went to Nordic countries, because as we know that till near future there is no possibility that no India will stop India will stop importing crude oil and natural gas. So for long period of time, for many years, we have to import, but at least diversify the resources, so that we may be we may be dependent very less in the West Asia on the West Asia, and we can be dependent on other countries also. So second thing is we must learn to diversify our import sources. Next important thing is that we have to improve our renewable energy infrastructure, because energy infrastructure is something what we can do on our own, because we have good amount of solar energy, we have good amount of wind energy, we have good amount of hydel energy. So for all these things we do not need to depend on any other country. That's why it will be a very good point if India invest more and more in the renewable energy. Next important thing is that India must strengthen the domestic energy production. Domestic energy production. So here also the role of solar energy or role of wind energy will be very important. The role of the household solar panel cells, rooftop solar panel cells will be very important. Next thing is that India must reduce the excessive dependence on the imports. See, as I've already said, that India has very good amount of solar energy or good potential of solar energy. But for solar energy, we need solar panels, right? And material of these solar panels, we generally import. Mainly we import from China, so we have a lot of import dependency. So if we try to make all these solar panels and if we try to reduce the unnecessary imports, then also we can save a lot of forex reserves. Right. So these are the important solutions, or these are the way forward for which India must focus upon, so that now India will be prepared for any other global shock which will be happening in future. So quickly let's discuss, since we were talking about the strategic crude oil reserves. So let's discuss at present what are reserves. So these are the existing sites. Existing sites are the Vishakhapatnam, then we have Mangalore, and then we have Padur. And what are the upcoming sites? Upcoming sites are the Chandikhol in Orissa, and again extension of Padur in Karnataka. So at present, these are the strategic oil reserves of India. Now, a quick practice question for you. So the question is, which one of the following statements regarding pangolins is correct? First is, they are reptiles found only in Africa. Second, they are nocturnal mammals that primarily feed on ants and termites. Third is they are amphibians protected under Ramsar Convention. And fourth is they are marsupials which are native to Australia. So I think we have discussed about pangolins in detail. So try to give answer of this question in the comment section. Okay. Okay, so I think we discussed each and every article in detail. Okay, so I think that's all from my side for today. Thank you and have a nice day.